Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is the NFL Draft Prospect Show, along with Vincent Turner. I'm Harper LeBel. Our producer is Logan Landers. And Vincent, every week we want to bring up at least three guys that we think have the potential to be drafted first, second, sometimes third rounders. We're looking at some of the top prospects right now. There's only a few, right, when you think about it, under 100 that'll get to go in those first three rounds the way the math works. But you selected three other guys right now that I've heard them. I recognize the names, but I didn't know that they were this good. And I'm glad that you do this every week. I get another tidbit of information about some of these guys that have a chance. And especially since we had Chip Smith on and the hard work that these guys do, and the ranking system is so fine and minute, and the differences. Vincent, it's a pleasure that we get to do this and talk about guys that have a chance to be a first rounder and be in the NFL as a star, but also to take care of some of their financial needs. So thank you again for doing that.
You're absolutely welcome. I look at this right now. It's the best season in football. And I got really, I want to say, hooked on covering the NFL draft and other prospects probably about 13 years ago. And I like this time of the year because once these young men in their careers, they go into this intense training period. And you had Mr. Chip Smith on a couple of weeks ago, and he told it like it was what these guys put in. And I tell you, Harper, what's the most enjoyable part for me is these kids starting at 4 and 5 years old, and their parents putting so much into them and seeing them grow. Seeing them go through high school and getting that scholarship, then seeing them on a college level. And then when the NFL draft happens, seeing them kids walk across the stage and the parents just break out in tears and the kids break out in tears. That really touches me because you don't know how much effort and hard work is put into this. And some of these kids are first-time millionaires. And they can change their whole family's dynamics for courses of years. It's so deep to me, and it's very enjoyable. That's why I love the NFL draft. That's why I love this time of year, because we get to talk about players that's really put a lot of time into this and players who trying to follow their dreams at a high level. And I'm going to say it again, it's so much a blessing for me personally. Because to do this now, and I tell everybody out there, I got a gentleman that went through the process. He knows what it takes. He's been there. And he can tell you about all the hard stories. But also he can tell you what it means and what it takes to make it. He's right there on the screen. This is a blessing to me. He played at Colorado State. He played 11 years in the league. And it doesn't get any better for Vincent Turner. And that's why I love talking about the NFL draft prospects. And then any time over the 15 years that I've been doing this, this is the best time of my life because of this young man here on the screen. See, all you other people, excuse me, you think you experts, but you have not stepped one field or one down in the National Football League. I'm sorry, Hawk. Back to you.
No, that's okay. I appreciate you. I extend a compliment to you. I appreciate the reciprocation. That's very nice. I'm just saying, a lot of folks that have given football players some issues, or basketball, baseball, it doesn't matter. When you go to school, you go to get a business degree, or you go learn to be an art major or a poli-sci, or you study a certain thing, whether it be a master's, a doctorate, and you want to go out in the real world and go make something out of that. Well, football now has become a very elite business, and you go to school to study. And you can study business, but you're also learning how to play football, because when you're done after your junior or senior year, you got a chance to do something that very few people do. So there's a competitive edge to that. And if you recognize that, and a lot of people do, but there's some that don't. And these guys work very hard. And the result is, if you get drafted, you've got a chance. You have to get drafted and be signed in order to wear the uniform. Prior to that, you can't do it. So it's a very exclusive club. Let's look at three guys right now that have approached the threshold and are just a few months away from being drafted. The first is Jalen Noel. He's a wide receiver out of Iowa State. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. He's a senior, has 72 receptions this year, 7 touchdowns. He's averaging 15 yards a catch. He's quick. He's a zone beater. He creates separation. He's versatile. He's tough. There are some weaknesses that he has, but what sticks out for you right now with Jalen, Vincent, because this is a young guy right now that is a slot machine. We've talked about Ladd McConkey and his ability to get open. I see Jalen Noel as being a guy that's very similar to that with a lot more speed. He can beat you deep, but he's also able to find a space in those zones and make some big catches. Obviously, he's got 72 now for Iowa State. So has he moved up in the rankings for you?
No question about it. What I like about him most of all, he's got that short area quickness. Right there at the line of scrimmage, quick off the ball. And then he eats up a lot of space when he's running his routes. And he's very versatile. And I like his build. 5'11", 200 pounds. That's very solid. And he puts me in the mind of a guy that played at Southern Mississippi that played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Lewis Lips. He's got a little quickness like Terry Gwynn that played at Ohio State, former Dallas Cowboy. And he's got a little bit of DJ Moore right now that's playing with the Chicago Bears. All those guys, you remember, they were 5'11", 5'10", 195, 200. But what was so really unique about them, they was very quick in short areas. And that's why Ladd McConkey is having so much success out there with the L.A. Chargers by way of the University of Georgia. Back to you, Harp.
Yeah, one of the weaknesses, if you really want to call it that, is Jalen's been known to be a little weaker than what guys want him to be at the NFL level. He's not a very good run blocker in terms of holding on to a defensive back or a safety. Those are things that you can work on. Your strength and your want to. You got to be able to want to do that. And maybe he wasn't asked to do that much at Iowa State, but that's one of the things that I've seen. And then obviously just focusing a little bit more, being able to catch the ball when you're in coverage. The yards after a catch are a concern as well. He catches it, and because he's smaller, he goes down a little bit easily. If he works on things like that, he's going to go from a day 2 guy, maybe a day 3 guy, to possibly one of the top receivers in the draft. So we look forward to seeing some improvement in some areas of his game, but he's certainly there for a reason. Any final thoughts before we move on about Jalen?
You think about Iowa State and you think about the tradition at the wide receiver position. I always think about a young man that was at the top of the list, Mr. Ike Harris out of West Memphis, Arkansas. That was a pretty good receiver in the 70s. Mr. Jalen Noel fits that category as one of the best that came out of Iowa State. Back to you, Harp.
Yep. Well, bright career on the horizon for him, especially if you go in the slot with him, but he can also play on the outside. So keep your eye, folks, on Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State. The next feature that we're going to have here today is Trey Moore. He wears number 8 for the University of Texas. You're going to be seeing him over the next month or so playing in some of the biggest games that the colleges have to offer in terms of the playoff. They lost to the University of Georgia, did Texas in the SEC championship. So they're going to be playing Clemson in round 1 in just a couple of weeks. But Trey Moore, he wears number 8. As you can see, he's an edge rusher, but he's also a linebacker that plays in coverage. He's not just a guy that is going to go from the outside, put his fingers down into the ground, and rush the quarterback. He can cover. He can cover up the field in terms of going straight back, but he can also go out in the flats. Because of his speed and his versatility, he does a great job against running backs, against guys that are faster. But he's 6'3", he's 245. He's got 28 tackles right now, 3.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles this year. But last year, Vincent, what really put him on the radar was his ability to get to the quarterback. He had 14 sacks last year. What impresses you most about Trey Moore?
I think he's a gentleman this past weekend that had to hit on Carson Beck, right? Before halftime and knocked him out of the game. A guy that can get after the passer, man. Explosive, athletic, tremendous instincts, could be an impact pass rusher. And when you think about all the guys that can really rush the passer back in the time of college football, Robert Mathis when he was at Alabama A&M, Von Miller when he was at Texas A&M, Fred Dean when he was at Louisiana Tech. But I'm going to tell you, Mr. Trey Moore has got a little bit of Dexter Manley in him. Dexter was about Trey's size. Of course, Dexter got bigger when he got the Redskins because Dexter Manley used to also cover punts at Oklahoma State and when he first got in the league with the Redskins. But he reminds me of Dexter so much, that athletic ability, just that quickness and explosiveness. And then it takes him back to Tennessee. Back in 91, Tennessee had 4 players that got drafted real high. All they did was specialize in getting to the passer. And it was all built the same, just like Trey Moore. One of them is your friend, Hop, Chuck Smith, Todd Kelly, Tracy Hayworth, and the other one, Chris Mims, that went first overall with the Chargers. All those guys were built just like Mr. Trey Moore. And I'm going to be excited to see him play because he's a guy, when he's on the field, he's always a guy that makes plays. Back to you, Hawk.
Yeah, he's the guy that really impresses me. There's a few that have been able to do so at the college level that they know how to sniff the ball out. They know where it's going to go, and they're around it. They may not always be making the tackle, but they're around. They're not more than a step or two away, and that's what he does to impress me. His speed, his first step, his change of direction, that's another real important. He's 245, which might be a little light for NFL levels. So he may have to put a couple of pounds on, but he's already showing how strong he is, and he can play multi-positions. Like we said, edge, yes. Can you play outside linebacker? Yes. Can you play inside linebacker? Probably. He can move around because of that. What are some of the things that he needs to work on? Well, I mentioned his weight right now. Is he too light? I'm not sure if he's going to be an edge rusher if he plays at 245. However, if he's on the field and it's first and second down when you know a team's going to run, I definitely have a size disadvantage if I've got him on my defense. Going against a 320-pound offensive tackle or a guard at 245, he should be easy to move, and that's one of the issues that he's going to have to deal with, Vincent, is even though he's got great speed, he's got to set the edge. He's got to be able to make running backs go inside him on plays that are designed to go to the outside. So those are some things that he needs to work on. But other than that, I mean, everything about him right now, he's been a terrific college player. And we're looking at him at maybe a day 2 or day 3 guy. If he gets a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, like everybody needs to do, who knows? He may end up being a late day 1 or like a middle of the pack day 2, but we'll find that out. Final thoughts about Trey.
When you look at Trey Moore and you look at his size, he's a good-looking athlete right there on the screen. You got to figure he's going to put on some more weight. I'm thinking, could he play at 255, 260? And then you're going to have really something on your hands there. But he's a good-looking football player and a guy, as you always say, Hawk, you get paid at 3 positions? You always say quarterback, you say protecting the passer, and getting after the passer. He's a young man that's got a real excellent future in front of him getting to the quarterback.
Yep, absolutely. We wish him well, and we're going to be seeing a lot of him. The whole nation will be watching what Texas does. And again, that first game against Clemson, that's just in 2 weeks, coming up Saturday. All right, here we go. Big man. Go ahead, talk about these big guys. And especially when he is someone that I used to play with his dad. Chris Hinton was an all-pro and a pro bowler for the Falcons and the Colts. People may not remember the fact that Chris Hinton was that piece in the trade that brought John Elway to the Denver Broncos. He was going to be drafted by the Colts. He didn't want to play for them. He didn't want to play for Irsay. And so Chris Hinton was the piece that the Denver Broncos had traded away to be able to get John Elway there. But Miles Hinton is his son, and you can tell because of his size that he comes from good loins. And I tease when I say that, hey, man, 6'6", he's 340 pounds. This guy is a rock. And he went from Stanford to Michigan, won a national championship last year. Most of their offensive line was drafted and graduated, but he was there to stay. And Miles Hinton had a great year this year from what he was able to do. And I say that even though they went 6-6 as a team, Michigan had an off year there, especially offensively, but it wasn't because of this big man. Number 78, let's go over the numbers. He's 6'6", 340 pounds. He is known for his IQ. He's a smart guy. He knows what to do. He knows how to do it. And he's quick to correct when he's been coached. He's NFL ready in terms of his size. He probably needs to get a little bit stronger. I don't know what his 225-pound bench is. We'll find that out at the combine, but look at the size of this guy. And as big as his shoulders are, he's not a big belly guy at 340 either. That's a great thing. Maybe he can lose 15, 20 pounds, get to 320, and look, he's still a massive human being. His mentality, he's a mean guy. He finishes blocks on film. One of the things that jumps out that he keeps pushing you, even though you may sense that the whistle's been blown. This is a bad mamma jamba. Vincent, your thoughts about Myles Hinton?
Obviously comes from what I call great bloodlines. You played with his father, went to a great high school, great Atlanta Christian, very coached well there, went out to Stanford, played pretty well out there. Then he goes to Michigan, where Michigan has had tremendous players at the offensive tackle position, from Mike Ken to Tyler Lewan to Matt Elliott to Jake Long to Reggie McKenzie. Just him being in that system alone, you know he's special. But what I love about him most of all, Harper, and just looking on the film and watching some videos last night on YouTube, he's a punishing run blocker. Punishing run blocker. Punishing run blocker. I said that 3 times because he's real good at that. And he's got outstanding upsides as a pass protector. And, hey, I look at everything from a success standpoint of him being a very good professional player at the next level, because you played with his father, and you mentioned the one thing that he has that a lot of people don't have: good coaching, good high school coaching, 2 good schools in Stanford and Michigan, and we call it the FBI, football intelligence. Back to you, Hart.
Yep. Let's look at his weaknesses. Sometimes he lunges. When he pass protects, he's getting ready. He doesn't want to get bull rushed, so he'll lean forward, and someone who's maybe a little bit quicker gets their hands on him, and then he ends up going forward, and it's hard to react and protect your quarterback when your weight isn't distributed correctly. But those are things that he's going to work at. He's missed his guy at times. When he goes to punch a guy, he's not there. Sometimes he goes with 2 hands, and coaches will say you should go with one. Go with one, you're outside first, and then protect. And then if that guy swipes your hand off, you still can react and counter with that. Those are things that through experience, he'll be excellent at that in the near future. But for right now, those are some of the small weaknesses that he has. Setting the pocket, sometimes it might be a little bit too short or too deep. He's got to find that sweet spot where it's Goldilocks, where it's just perfect for him. And he forces the defensive end to go around him in a way that he might not have to do. And that's favorable. If I set real short, then I know that the guy's going to go around me and I won't get beat on the inside. It kind of eliminates that. And now you know the guy's going to go to the outside, and you're ready for it with your quick feet, with your post foot up, and then you can react to that. So those are some things that he just, every player needs to work on. But that mean factor, that I finished the blocks and I am a guy that you want to run behind me, I'm going to wear my opponent out by the end of the game. Those are worth their weight in gold. And certainly at 340 pounds, there's plenty of weight right there, and maybe a little bit of gold that will go with it come draft day. Final thoughts about Myles Hinton and the outstanding lineman that we're looking at, the 6'6", 340-pounder from Michigan.
I can see him moving up in the draft. Once all the drills, the combine, the interviews, this is a guy that can move to a top of the 2nd round pick or a late 1st round pick because of his size and just on the fact his father was a great player. Pro Bowl player, should be in the Hall of Fame. And I leave it at that. Back to you, Hawk.
Yep. Well, we wish him well, and there's some work to do for all 3 of these guys. They're not the top 1st round picks, but we want to look at some of the other guys that might end up being great fill position guys in the 2nd or maybe even the 3rd round. But they all hope that they end up going in the 2nd round. So for Vincent Turner, I'm Harper LeBel. Logan Landers is our producer. Today we wanted to look at 3 unique athletes, in which we did Jalen Noel from Iowa State. He's a wide receiver. Trey Moore, he's an edge rusher from the University of Texas. And then Myles Hinton, an offensive tackle from the University of Michigan. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. We appreciate you staying with us. Please like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate you doing that. But in the meanwhile, have a great day, everybody. We are glad that you joined the show, and we wish you the best. Have a great day.